Welcome to Weird PVD, the podcast. Every week, your host, Sherry Kasperzak, takes you to the odd corners of beautiful Providence, Rhode Island. From big blue bugs to unique art, from weird history to weird food, you'll never look at Rhode Island's creative capital the same again. Tune in every Weird Wednesday. So, riddle me this, PVD weirdos. What the heck do New York System wieners, a uniquely Rhode Island institution, have to do with New York? Why are they called that? And what is the fate of the oldest Providence, New York System restaurant? Today on Weird PVD, the podcast, we're taking a tasty field trip down to your local New York System location for a unique Rhode Island food and one with the everything. And this one goes out to my bestie Tori, who has the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy. So I hope you delight in hearing me say the word wiener again and again. I love you. Let's start by defining a New York System wiener. This creation includes a beef, pork, and veal wiener, and it should be noted that this is not a hot dog, but a wiener composed of this specific meat combination, served on a steamed bun with mustard, onions, meat sauce, and celery salt. Ask for ketchup, and you just might get yourself banned for life. Ask them to hold the onions, and they might flip a table or two. This is a very precise preparation. So you may ask yourself, what's the difference between a hot dog and a hot wiener? Well, let me tell you. Hot dogs are typically processed with a bunch of different cuts of meat, but hot wieners are made with beef, pork, veal, spices, and some preservative. But some locations use a natural casing while others don't use a casing. According to Hey Rhody, the Olneyville, New York System on Plainfield Street in Providence serves hot wieners that have a natural casing. The wieners with a casing come as one long rope, meaning that each wiener must be cut by hand, and most places get their wieners from either Little Rhody brand Frankfurts and wieners or All American. Allegedly, Homestead Baking bakes the buns used by the majority of hot wiener restaurants using a sweeter roll than your typical hot dog bun. Now, the meat sauce is a hard-to-find recipe, but rumor has it that a 70-30 ground beef blend is the secret sauce to this concoction. Just so we're clear, New York System wieners are very much a Rhode Island specific thing. So why the heck is it called New York System? Where did New York come into play? Well, as it turns out, the name has very little to do with New York. Back at the turn of the 20th century, hot dogs were associated with Coney Island. Even though Frankfurters have their roots in 14th century Germany, the hot dog as we know it appeared in the mid to late 1800s and were offered by street vendors, mostly in Coney Island, New York, a place associated with boardwalks and amusement parks. Hot dogs were a street food at the time and didn't become an everyday food until the Great Depression, when they were popularized by Nathans. The Nathan in question, Nathan Handwerker, actually got his start serving up hot dogs on Coney Island. Good old Nathan saved his money by living off of hot dogs and sleeping on the floor of his boss's kitchen. Can you imagine eating nothing but hot dogs for every meal? Actually, if you can, drop me a hot dog emoji in the comments. Once he'd saved up enough money, he opened his own hot dog stand, charging 5 cents a wiener to compete with his former employer, who was charging 10 cents. Now, that's just smart. So, given that New York is where the hot dog hit its stride in America, Greek immigrants in Rhode Island used the New York moniker as a marketing strategy. Everyone knew wieners were a New York dish, so to capitalize on their popularity, it was a no-brainer. Now, let's talk about Baba's original New York System wieners on Smith Street. This is the location that some argue was the first New York System location. It was founded in 1927 by father-son duo Augustus and Ernie Pappas. By the late 1930s, Augustus got sick and couldn't help with the Smith Street location, so Ernie enlisted the help of his cousins, Nicholas and Anthony Stavriankos, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, to run the restaurant. But by 1946, Ernie had it all under control and he didn't need the help anymore. So Nicholas and Anthony decided to branch out on their own, and they opened the Olneyville, New York System. And there's been a long battle over which place came first, but here's the plot twist you've all been waiting for. Smith Street came first, but both locations originated from the same family. The Smith Street location operated in Smith Hill for almost 100 years before the owners announced that they'd be closing up shop at the end of October of 2025. Now, the ownership has changed hands over the years, but it seems like rising food costs and a reduction in customers forced their hand. But right after the location closed, the owners announced that new owners, the Quintana family, would be taking over and operating as Hillside Original New York System Wieners. And late night hours are returning to the location. So don't you fret, the location isn't going anywhere. When word spread that the Smith Street location was closing, people took to Reddit to express their disappointment, even if they weren't exactly surprised. Chili Wonka wrote, "Yeah, the place has always been a dive of sorts, but isn't that part of the charm? But yeah, for me, it was the prices. After not being in New England for like 15 years, I came to visit, and one of the first stops was the Olneyville, New York System. I ordered 4 all the way, and the total was almost $20 frickin' dollars. I hadn't been there since you could get them for less than half that price. They aren't even good enough to be spending nearly $5 for one frickin' belly buster. That being said, I can't the last 20 years of memories going there late night after bar hopping downtown or tearing it up at Fort Thunder." Sissy MR22 wrote, "This place has been limping along since at least the pandemic. Its business model depended for decades on foot traffic and hyper-local consumer demographic that favored preservative-rich mini hot dogs. That's long gone. They lack the parking, ease of access, and late-night pop culture lore of that other place in Olneyville. We knew how this movie was going to end years ago." Gambinley12 wrote, "Paying my respects to Baba's. I loved the staff and the feeling of eating there in a true dive. Just wrapped up Rhode Island Food Fight's inaugural Best Wiener contest as a judge. Top 3 were fry bread, subtle adjustments to the classic hot wiener made from scratch. It was unreal. 2, the Galley, Gilligan's Bar, food truck, true classic hot wiener made to order, and Cosmic Wieners. Number 3, traditional hot wiener off the grill that had sat, still delicious. Staff was super friendly, large portions. So now you know where to go instead." It's well known that David Byrne, frontman for the Talking Heads, worked at a New York System Wieners back in the 1970s when he attended RISD. Now, there seems to be some debate over whether he worked at the Smith Street location or the Olneyville one. And David's people didn't respond to my request for an interview. So have your people call my people, David. Let's clear this up once and for all. Come do an interview with me. Anyway, there's a video of him describing his time serving up wieners to drunken high people coming out of parties in the wee hours of the morning. In that video, he talks about how he'd line up several wieners on his arm and top them with meat sauce and all the toppings. In the video, he cracks up and mentions how gross it was to have meat sauce dripping down your arm. Rhode Island music legend Rudy Cheeks said in a 1987 Providence Journal interview, quote, "At the time, I was working up the street at the O'Rourke Children's Center. We both worked nights, and in the summer, I would walk to work and stop and visit with David and maybe have a wiener, talk wiener. He would tell me great stories about strange behavior in the late night customers. We're talking 1973 or so. I think the clientele has improved since then. David was a very conscientious worker. He had long arms, and you know how they stack the wieners on their arm and put the condiments on. I believe it was his downfall because he wanted to be a great grill man and he had hairy arms. And I think people might have been off put by the fact he did have a lot of hair on his arms. But what can you do? Put a plastic sleeve on?" End quote. It's a good thing that whole being a rock star thing worked out for him, and he never had to use his hairy arms to add meat sauce to a wiener again. So, if you're wondering, as I was, who holds the record for eating the most New York System wieners? Former owner Ernie Pappas told the Providence Journal in 1987, quote, "We had one fellow who had the record, 24 wieners by one man. It was Dr. Capobianco, who lived on Douglas Ave. He's long deceased now, long ago. He was a big fan of Providence College sports. After a basketball game, he would come in with 5 or 6 fellows. He was good for 6 or 8 by himself anytime. 2 bites and down, they're gone. This particular night, some guy made a bet. 'Doc,' he says, 'I bet you can't eat 10 or 12 of those things.' Doc says, 'You got a bet.' I was waiting on him. 21 is as long as my arm can hold. 6 guys bet the doc he couldn't eat 20 hot dogs. That was a total of $60, and that was a lot of money back then. Come 2 o'clock, and the doc consumed 20. He said, I want 4 more. He had 4 cups of coffee to wash it down. Just to make it look good, he said, I'll have a burger. So tell me, could you eat 24 New York system wieners? And would you pair yours with coffee milk? Should I do an episode on the Rhode Island wonder that is coffee milk? Drop me a comment and let me know. So, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Weird PVD, the podcast. If you liked this episode, do me a huge favor. Like the video, leave me a comment about your memories of New York system wieners and your go-to location for a hot wiener all the way. You can also go follow me on Instagram. I'm at weird_PVD. Thank you as always for your support. It means the world to me. And don't forget to keep PVD weird.